I would forget. If y'all would please put your, if y'all don't mind putting your names in the chat box, that would be great. And if everybody would also not mind going ahead and muting themselves, and we're going to get started. So I'm going to give everybody also a list of who's with us today. Stanley's on. Whoops. He is not going to be with us, but this way you can see who all is here and their LinkedIn addresses, and I bet our presenters will probably also give you their email addresses too. So just curious, is there anyone here who is not playing football? And if so, just unmute yourself and tell us, because I'm kind of curious.
Samara, track and field.
Great. Glad you're with us, Samara. And what is your sport?
Track and field.
Great, great. Hope you've had a good summer. Are you back on campus?
Yes, ma'am.
Great, great. Anybody else? Okay, well, it's 3:30. We're going to jump in and get started. I really do want to thank everybody for being here. Many of you, most of you, probably hardly any of you know who I am. My name is Susan McCracken. I'm over in the JET building in the Career Development Center, and want to do a couple of introductions, and then we're going to jump into our panel. If y'all have any questions that you want to ask as we go along, I'm going to ask JP and Jennifer Schaefer, who are also with us from the Career Development Center, to help make sure if we have any questions that we get those answered. But we have been working a lot with Pierre the past, I guess, couple of months for a long time. I've known Pierre since he was a student here, and he was a big football star, and can still remember screaming his name at Kid Brewer back in the day when we were in the other league. But anyway, it's been great to work with him, and we are excited about a whole series of things that we really want to roll out for student athletes this year. Also, I think I may have another friend, Sue, are you on here, that I have gotten to know a little bit this summer, who has also shared specifically some of the challenges that he feels like student athletes have as you think about career development. So we really want to do everything we can to support you. Jennifer Perry, who is up here in the pink with the dead plants behind her because I did not water them during the pandemic, is actually the liaison for student athletes, and she will be the person that you'll probably see the most. She's going to be doing drop-in hours on Tuesdays from 11 to 2, and we'll be getting a Zoom link out to y'all so that you can access that.
Yeah, we can work on resumes, cover letters, LinkedIn, anything you need, and it's open. So first come, first serve. So it'll be good. I hope to see everyone. I've had some great experiences over the summer with a bunch of different athletes. I see some of them on here. So I am your liaison. So if you need anything, just reach out.
Great. And then the other person I want to make sure to recognize and thank is Nolan, who's been really wonderful. I met Nolan back in probably January, before the spring internship and job fair. And he and Coach Clark and Doug Gillen have been really supportive of us working towards having more engagement with our student athletes. So, so we wanted to start off this series by telling you a little bit about some of the things that you already know about yourself, that you have to work really hard. You feel like you probably don't have a life except your sport sometimes. You have really high expectations of yourself, and other people have high expectations of you. And those are some of the qualities that make you candidates that employers really want to hire. So the folks that we invited today to join us are all representing employers who actively come to campus, like they come to campus all the time, virtually or in person, and they are always actively seeking ways to engage with our student athletes and really prioritize finding opportunities for you with their company. So rather than me tell you who they are, I put their names in the box, but I'm just going to start at the top of my list and ask each of our panelists, first of all, to introduce themselves, tell us what your current job is, and a bit about what you did or did not do to get ready for life after college when you were a college student. So let's start with you, Charis.
Make sure I unmute myself first. Hi guys, my name is Charis Nunez. I work for the E&J Gallo winery. Yes, I work for a winery. We're the largest winery on planet Earth, exporting to over 90 different countries. And believe it or not, 1 out of every 4 bottles of wine you can purchase is one of ours. We are also a top 10 distiller. So if you're not into wine and spirits are more your thing, we got you covered there as well. I'm a proud mountaineer. I graduated in 2009. And have literally been with Gallo since I graduated. So moved from Brown Heights and the 105 extension to Buckhead here in Atlanta, Georgia, and have had 5 or 6 different roles in the past 10 years. So very, very, very excited to be with you guys today. What did I not do to prepare for life after college? I did not enjoy college as much as I probably should have. I was really worried about just being credible and of great value when I got out. And so I probably wish I would have just enjoyed not having the pressures of everyday career life. I know we're all looking forward to the next phase in life, but definitely want to encourage you guys to enjoy the phase you're in and don't let it pass you by. So thank you for having me today.
Great, thank you. India, you want to go next? India is another alum of AppState.
I am. I actually graduated in 2017 and then went back and got my MBA from AppState as well. So I love AppState. It's really fun to go back and visit now. I was a recruited soccer player to go to AppState. I played freshman and sophomore year and then unfortunately had a career-ending injury. So, but I know exactly what it's like to be, a full-time student and a full-time athlete. Sometimes it feels like the athletics and the sports that you all are in definitely feel a little bit more life consuming. So I completely understand where you guys are coming from there. But it definitely, sports definitely taught me. I was just like you guys. I played sports from essentially when I could walk. So I played soccer from when I was a wee little kid and all the way through college or half of college. And then I stopped and moved on to figure out other ways to get involved in on campus. But one of the reasons that Brad wanted me to join today was to kind of talk about my experience a little bit, but I also was a student athlete at App, so I know exactly what you guys are going through. And really my biggest piece of advice, I was one that my resume wasn't a standout all-star resume, being a full-time athlete as well. There's not a lot of time for extra jobs or internships. Especially you football players that really probably a lot of you stay at school all year round to continue training and developing for football and other athletes as well. With soccer, we had to be there at the beginning of August, so it really only gave you 2 months. So a lot of internships were not an option for me. So I didn't really have a lot of experience on my resumes, and on paper, I really wasn't a very strong candidate. However, when you're talking about your career as an athlete, that is definitely a commendable experience as well. And so, my kind of advice, because Charis went over, what she didn't do, but what I did, to kind of build up my resume was when I got into interviews, I really talked about the experiences I did have. And I know all of you are involved with something else on campus, even if it's, your sport is your full-time job. So don't be afraid when you get into those interviews to really be yourself and talk about the experiences you have had, because you don't want to go in and discredit those experiences, even if if your resume may not be as elaborate as others. But really, I was one that did not have a whole lot of experience on my resume. But it was quality over quantity in my mind. And so I really made sure that I was confident going into those interviews and talked about the experiences I did have. So thank you for having me on as well. Brad, I don't really know where he is. But that's a little bit about me and my experience at App. But I work for a company called TTI, or Techtronic Industries. We are the largest manufacturer of power tools. So we do everything from your everyday drills to your lawn care equipment, to actually Dirt Devil vacuums. A lot of people have heard of our brand Dirt Devil. And I am a territory manager. So I manage 13 reps across Virginia and North Carolina. So that is a little bit about me and what I do. And hopefully Brad will jump on to tell you a little bit more about what he does and what we do at TTI.
Great. Thanks, India. And Amy, if you can tell us a little bit about your background, what you do, and what your preparation was or wasn't when you were in college.
Thank you, Susan. Hi, everyone. My name is Amy Casari. I am the Talent Acquisition Manager for Enterprise Rent-A-Car. I'm sure a lot of you have heard of Enterprise. We are the #1 leader in the travel industry, in the rental car industry. We're all over the world. We are, really excited about how COVID has kind of, not excited, I guess, but we're happy to see a lot of the changes that this COVID pandemic has created in our business, and some of the great things that we've been able to evolve and identify as of new ways to go about continuing to be a very stable industry in the transportation department with everything going on. But I've been with Enterprise for 9 years, started as a management trainee. I went to App for a short stint, and then I transferred and graduated from Florida State. I received my degree in environmental studies, which is absolutely nothing in comparison to what I do today. So definitely didn't prepare myself school-wise for what I do today, but I enjoyed my college experience. I think that I really just focused on enjoying what I was learning and enjoying, the relationships that I built throughout my college career. And then when I transitioned into my professional life, I think I was just kind of searching and just trying to figure it all out. And then I came across Enterprise and recognized that there are so many different opportunities that really fit into what I was interested in as an individual: the competitiveness, the teamwork environment, the company culture, the opportunity for me to develop into a business professional, which was something that I had never experienced before. And I felt like Enterprise really gave me the tools to be able to find my way through that. So here I am 9 years later, coming up on 10, I can't believe it, almost a decade. It's kind of scary, but I just want to thank you all for being here today. I think we've got almost 100 participants on this panel discussion. So that's really great.
Yeah, it is. Okay, so my first question is really aimed for you, Charis and Amy. And so just curious if you could talk a little bit about how do you get into a company like E&J or Enterprise if you don't have any experience in that at all? So some of the folks here today might be like, I don't know anything about wine. I don't have any experience in sales. So why would these companies even be interested in me? What are they looking for? Because shouldn't I know a lot about a particular industry or have a lot of experience in it if I'm going to try to get a job there? So can you talk about why you seek out student athletes to hire them?
Sure. So in that respect, I was very much in your shoes. I knew nothing about wine or spirits. I actually grew up in a dry home. Yes, there was no liquor cabinet trade at the Farley house. I grew up with 6 brothers and sisters, so family was really important to me, and I wanted to work for an organization who really valued that. And I came across Gallo at a career fair. I had no interest in sales whatsoever. I was a PR major at App, and I wanted to be on the Today Show. I wanted to do TV. I had all these other aspirations. And when I met the rep from Gallo, I remember thinking, wow, like maybe I've been just selling my whole life, right? I had this idea of what sales was, and it wasn't really what I kind of saw myself doing, and I kind of just dismissed it altogether. So we hire people from all backgrounds, all walks of life. We almost prefer that you don't know anything about wine or spirits or sales, because we can really train you to do all of that kind of stuff. We literally welcome all majors. We look for 3.0 GPA or higher. If there are really good reasons why your GPA at graduation is lower than that, we have made exceptions based on people's personal kind of backgrounds and stories and things. I think what's most important to us when we're looking at resumes and considering who is going to be really successful as a future leader of our organization, because that's what we're really looking for. We're offering job careers, not just you know, one-time, two-time job opportunities. As we're looking for people who have demonstrated leadership, that's our #1 indicator of people who are going to do well in our program and be leaders of our organization. So athletes are amazing because you've been demonstrating a lot of things you might not know you've been demonstrating on a consistent basis, whether it's your time management skills, whether it's your competitive nature that I think India mentioned earlier. You can work on a team, you can work independently. A lot of athletes have personalities for days. That's one thing I loved about Gallo is I could be quirky and weird and bring all of my authentic self to the table. And that was a valuable asset to me, and not something that I had to put in a drawer and hide away and, you know, and it not really help or serve me or the organization I work for. So those are a couple of things that we really love to see. But demonstrated leadership 100% is the #1 indicator. We can teach you how to sell. We can teach you about wine and spirits, but we can't teach you to motivate yourself to be excellence. We want people who are really striving to raise the bar of excellence for yourself first, because that's a great indicator that that's what you're going to do for our organization. And so we would love to have you guys check us out. I did drop into the chat box a QR code for everyone. If you're interested, just take your phone, scan it over that QR code, and you can sign in to today's interaction, if you will, for us, where we can kind of keep in touch with you moving forward. But yeah, welcome any other questions, and definitely am excited to hear what Miss Amy has as well.
Thank you. And so I love hearing what you have to say, because really I can echo so much of that with enterprise. You know, the great thing about enterprise is that we look for competencies, we look for skills. We don't necessarily look for that experience. You know, you guys are student athletes, and we love our student athletes. We love the resilience. We love the work ethic. We love your ability to really push through and want to, you know, be that game changer and want to make a difference in your, you know, on the field and, you know, in your professional life or in your school studies. So we don't, you know, we don't require specific GPAs. You know, we understand that, you know, not everyone has to be that 4.0 GPA to be successful at enterprise. It's about how you're able to communicate and be yourself, and we can teach you about that sales piece. We can teach you about you know, understanding the business behind it. That's why it's called a management trainee program, because we want to train you to be the future leaders of our company. We want to start, you know, in that role and watch you grow and develop and really blossom into that business professional, to where you're able to run your own successful business. So, you know, I think for us, it's really focusing similarly to what Charis said, of that leadership skill that you don't even necessarily recognize that you have, because you're just naturally a leader, or that ability to thrive and be successful in that team environment. It just really, it makes you stand out here at Enterprise. And we've gotten so many successful student athletes that are currently, you know, on the bench here with our company and that are doing some really amazing things.
Great.
Can I add one more thing, Susan?
Yeah, absolutely.
I think India maybe had mentioned about coming out of college, not having the resume that felt as robust as maybe some of the other applicants to her job opportunity. I think another big standout, something that you guys can actionably do regardless of what experience you have or don't have on your resume, is be able to link that experience that you do have to the opportunity in front of you. So if you're going to apply for, you know, Amy's role or our role or TTI's role, make sure you spend some time with that job description and what the expectation is for the opportunity, in the beginning and in like a more broad sense, and then really link and leverage the experience that you have and apply it to that opportunity. That will make you stand out so much more, having one line item on a resume versus a whole lot of fluff that you can't really bring to life and be valuable in any kind of way, shape, or form. So that'd be one big tip I have for you guys to stand out.
Great. And I wanted to ask India a follow-up because Amy and Charis both mentioned leadership. In our world of career development, we talk about career readiness skills, and leadership is one of those. And there are lots of different ways to get that. Obviously, athletics is one way. But India, I was curious if you might talk about some of the other foundational traits that you see folks having who are successful with your company. And then if you could talk about, since you are fairly close to having been a college student, ways that you think folks, especially if they're participating in a sport, what are some other ways they can get those experiences either on campus or modified internships, again, just how to best prepare themselves.
Yes, absolutely. I love that that Amy and Charis talked about leadership. I think that is one of the biggest qualities that we do look in for our candidates as well. Another one that goes pretty parallel with it is that competitive side. Being in an industry where you are interacting with your customers and you're really helping to drive sales for our business. That is something that athletes really have. I mean, you play a competitive sport. So that is something that when you talk about your competitiveness and your drive to get those end results, you may not have the internship like we've all discussed, but some of you may, but you may have that other competitive nature of, going and being a walk-on or, wanting to get more minutes on the field. Those are all things that show your drive and determination to make you want to work harder. It doesn't necessarily have to be behind a desk working a role with some company. So the competitive nature, that drive to succeed is something that we look for in our candidates. I would say another piece of that we look for in our candidates when we're interviewing candidates is what kind of job are they looking for? Are they looking for just a job to say, I just want to be, I want to get this experience, put it on my resume and move on to the next company? Or are they looking for more of a career? That was something that, everybody kind of preached going, and my parents and friends were like, I just need a job. Well, I really, now being in the role that I'm in, we're looking for students that are looking for more of a career. And that there is a difference. And I don't think I realized that in college of what that is. So the second part of Susan's question was, what kind of things can you do to kind of gain that leadership experience or that competitive or to show that passion and drive? There are some I guess smaller things that you can do on campus to show that experience and to show more about who you are. I know that things are different right now, and so some ways of getting involved on campus are going to be a little bit more difficult or challenging and may not even happen at all. But even taking the initiative within your teammates to do community service. I know in Boone we have oh wow, now you're gonna make me forget what it's called. The place on King Street that you can go serve lunch or dinner.
Farm Cafe.
Farm Cafe, thank you. Yeah, so you can go and organize a group of teammates or friends outside on other teams to go and serve at Farm Cafe and get out in the community, get a name out there for yourself. I know that a lot of the athletic teams, when I was on the soccer team, we did this, and we went once a week to read to students at Hardin Park. Well, what a better way to get involved and just show that leadership ability, show that willingness to get out there in the little free time that you have outside of studying and of practice and weights. So I'm not saying go join and be the president of a club and take up the free time that you may have, but those are some ways to get out there, serve the community, get a group of teammates or friends, or go across teammates or teams to gather, a group to go serve the community. You can do street pickups for a couple hours on a Saturday, Sunday morning, which really, just goes to show that you're giving back to the community that you are placed in, that you don't have to go and spend 20 hours a week and when you don't really have that time. I would love to see if Charis or Amy have any ideas, kind of going off of that, of what you did in college or you saw other of your peers doing.
Yeah, I think it all comes down to initiative.
Yep.
As an employer now, I know that we do not have the same expectation of applicants who were collegiate athletes as we have for people who have spent their entire college career filling up their time with other things. So at Gallo, we actually have a very specific, I guess, matrix for how we quantify the quality of your time. So, we consider someone who is on a athletic team at the same level of if you were, running a student organization. So it's not that you're losing time or value by pursuing what maybe has helped you get to college. I think 6 of the 7 of us in my family all went to college on athletic scholarships. I did not. I was the one who didn't, by the way. And, we don't all, not all of you have the luxury of taking any additional extra time that you have to be trying to keep up with the Joneses of people who are not as involved time-wise. So just so you guys know, our organization honors and values how you spend your time differently than maybe some other organizations, but you're not held to kind of the same standard. But I think initiative like what you guys have done today, just joining a call with employers, using your resources like Pierre, like Dan Smith, like Susan, like Jennifer, to say, hey, I might not have the time to do all these other things, but you're here as my liaison and ambassador to make sure that the time that I am spending while here is recognized by potential industries I'm interested in. That's almost a better connection point than just, throwing spaghetti at a wall at a career fair or on a job board, is take initiative and use your resources.
And let me jump in. I want to follow up with that and kind of move on to the next question. So India just said, this is a really weird time. And I'm just curious if folks who might be graduating during 2020, well, like December or in the spring, if y'all would just put your hands up or put a thing in your chat box. I'm curious, I'm guessing we probably got about, yes, I see you, Sherm. I don't know what you're cooking, but you are mightily at it. It looks good. But we've got folks who are gonna be graduating. And so right now we're in a major recession. One of the things that we see, Jennifer Schaefer and I were talking about this a few minutes ago, is we're still getting between 250, 300 job postings a week. This week we had almost 400, but they are in certain areas and they're not in certain areas. So the economy is really lopsided. So I wanted to kind of come back to this thing about, I guess, one, for those people who are about to graduate, what strategy should they put in place, knowing that the job market's going to be pretty tough? And then thinking about those folks who might be first-year students, sophomores, juniors, should they wait until a month before they graduate to start looking for a job, or what advice would you have for them?
I would say, okay, for those of you that are planning to graduate in the December months, start looking now. Get your plan in place. Make sure your resume is crisp. Make sure you have spent some time doing some mock interviews. A lot of interviews right now are virtual, so that's kind of weird, right? It's not as personable. It doesn't feel normal. Spend time, connect with someone at the Career Center to help you get through those mock interviews so that you are the expert in your communication about yourself in your interview. Do some research on companies that are hiring. Figure, kind of put it on a paper, put it on a piece of paper of what your interests are, and start, researching what you think that your likes, your interests, what you feel like your career readiness skills and traits might be successful in. I would also recommend, making your virtual networking, your virtual like LinkedIn, Handshake, updating those accounts as well, because companies that are hiring are looking for the top talent right now. And we are looking for those people that are active on social media, that are active in LinkedIn and Handshake, that have their resumes posted and uploaded on Indeed. We are looking at all those different sites because we want to bring on the best people. And we know that the best people, the most competitive people, have started the job search right now. For students that are, freshmen, sophomores, I recommend similar things, right? Figure out what is interesting to you. Start putting that list together. Get that resume building now so that you're not having to wait till the last minute when it's time to graduate to, put it all together really fast. Take some time to begin that virtual networking. Take some time to do some in-person networking where it permits, and don't be scared to start the conversation.
Yeah, again, it comes down to being intentional, right? Do your research, figure out what interests you. But also, I would encourage you to take it one step further than just what do you like to do? And it sounds corny now, even hearing myself about to say this, but who do you want to be 10 years from now? Not what job do you want to be doing or, like what car you want to be driving, but who do you want to be as a person? Who does Cole Garrison want to be? Who does Sherm want to be, right? And as you're looking at these different job opportunities or career opportunities, does it get you closer to that person or further away? And if it doesn't align at all, throw it out. And then the people who do maybe align with your goals long-term, really don't be scared to vet them, right? I think people on your side of the screen versus my side of the screen feel like, oh, well, I just have to figure out how to be enough for this opportunity. But really, you need to make sure that us as employers are really meeting your needs as well. So don't be afraid to vet us. Ask us what our values are. Do they align with yours? If not, you're going to be compromised down the road, right? So really spend some time thinking about who is Noah and how am I going to act? How do I want to live 10 years from now? And then work backwards from a state of who you want to be and not just what you want to be doing. And I think that goes for all age groups, and I'm still working on it myself. And thank God I'm still aligned. So something to consider, guys.
Totally agree with that, Charis. I think one of the things that I think a lot about, because when we say we're in the Career Development Center, the word career, I mean, at least for me, when I was a college student, and a big part of my life feels like something that's a trap. And so I think a lot of it is like, what is the life that you want to be? And sometimes the life you want to have, the things you're really passionate about, you can do for work, but maybe not. And so you find other ways to get your passions met. India, I wanted to follow up with you, particularly with this question about the recession, because TTI, from what I understand, is one of those companies that the economic decline right now is not, your business is booming. You guys are, I think Brad told me, I want to say like 8 or 9 hires he needs by December for December grads. So can you just talk about how competitive you think it's going to be to get a job like with a company like TTI or a company that is hiring right now, and any tips that we haven't mentioned that you might want to add?
Absolutely. I first want to comment, Amy, I just love your outfit with the AppState colors. Absolutely love it. It's adorable. I wish I had thought of that. But yes, so one of the biggest things, with, the fact that COVID hit and there are so many people, I'm sure all of you have friends, family, people that you're very close with that have unfortunately lost their job due to this global pandemic. And one of the things, I just saw Deanne's message in the chat pop up. One of the things that I've been very blessed with is that I still have a job. And if you guys just read Deanne's chat, we need 500 December grads. We are growing at a pace that we can't even keep up. We don't even have enough inventory in the stores to keep up with the growth that we are seeing right now. At the beginning of this pandemic, it made sense. Everybody was going home and doing home projects and redoing every single thing in their house, in their lawn, and more. It was absolutely insane, but it made sense. But here we are a couple months after, this global pandemic started. We're beginning to realize what this new normal looks like, and sales are still astronomical. There's not even product to sell and sales are still increasing. So there are companies outside of myself, outside of TTI, that I know are still doing well. Charis and alcohol has to be doing well as well. That's just something that, I've seen myself. But there are those companies that are hiring and are looking for rock stars. And, Amy mentioned it a little bit ago that, that right now is not too early to start. If you are a December or a May grad, it's not too early to start networking. Connect with me on LinkedIn. Send me an email. I'll put my email in the chat, because I would love to have that conversation now. One of the other things that is, it may be just unique to TTI when I say this, but right now we are looking for those December grads, and December grads are seeking us, and May grads. And in a lot of cases, when they start that process, if you are one that is really interested in certain locations, then, those are the ones that are going to go first, because those candidates are reaching out first and are beginning that interview and networking process. The other thing is for those younger, the juniors, the sophomores, the freshmen, there are companies out there that have internship programs that, if you're a student athlete, would be more than happy to kind of accommodate and work with you on what your schedule looks like. As a company like TTI, we're not going to penalize you for having to go back to school a couple weeks before the internship officially ends, because you have to go back because you have training. So that is just something to keep in mind, and that is something that should definitely motivate you. If you are one of those that are looking for a more formal internship, don't hesitate to reach out. Don't be timid and afraid to reach out, asking about internships and full-time offers, even if there is a lot of unknown with your schedule. So I definitely think those are kind of my biggest pieces of advice. But yeah, so we need a lot of candidates. But it is a very, like Susan said, it is a very competitive process, because not only will the December 2020 grads and the May 2021 grads, but believe it or not, there's a lot of May 2020 grads that have already graduated that had offers out there, that those offers have been rescinded due to the pandemic. So there's a lot of May 2020 grads that are also looking for those full-time opportunities now, so making it even more competitive and throwing that many more applicants into the pool, applying to all these different companies.
Yeah, that's a really good point. I hadn't really thought about that. That's pretty critical. So we've only got a few minutes left. One of the things I wanted to ask sort of is, and I kind of want to put Charis on the spot, because she was recently interviewed by some wine magazine or wine reporter for the industry about, I think the article was being Black in the wine industry, and some work that she has done at Gallo around ERG, And I'm going to ask her to talk a little bit about that. But what I'd like to kind of transition to is to talk a little bit about what types, like if you end up, say, going to a company, like any of the three that we have on right now, and I'm going to try to get Brad on here. I think one of us may have to jump off because I think our rooms are full, so we might have to jump off so he can jump in. But to talk a little bit about, so you get a job at Enterprise, you get a job at TTI, you get a job at E&J, and all of a sudden there's nobody there who has an experience like you had. There's nobody there who looks like you. You don't know what you're doing. You're totally clueless. Who's going to help you? Who's going to mentor you? What type of support are you going to have from y'all's companies? So, Charis, if we could start with you, that would be great. And then we'll go to India and Amy. And then if there are any questions that folks have, if y'all can put those in the chat box, because I want to have some chance for people, or either just unmute yourselves and ask you after our panelists respond.
Thank you, Susan. Yeah, so being Black in the world of wine is kind of like being Black at AppState, where it's not necessarily the most diverse place in the world, right? Let's keep it real. But that doesn't mean that there's not a place, right? You all have found not just a spot on one of the most coveted sports teams that App has. You've made a name for yourself in your conference. And at the end of the day, you have great value that you're bringing as students and as individuals. So I think it's really important to look at when you do land whatever company it is that you feel like aligns with your life goals and your career goals. Okay, well, what now, right? At Gallo, it's really important for us as a family-owned company to really lean into what family should be, and that's supporting whoever it is in your family. So Susan mentioned ERGs. Anyone raise your hand if you know what an ERG is? I can only see one pane worth of people, but ERGs are employee resource groups. We have 7 amazing employee resource groups at Gallo. I sit on the leadership board of GAN, which is the Gallo African American Network. Shamelessly pick up your phone and type in diversity and wine on the gram, and you'll be able to see some of the cool stuff that that particular ERG is doing. We also have one for women of wine, so it's not all just ethnic diversity. So if you're a woman in the wine industry, you're still an anomaly still. If you're ethnically diverse, the community is not as large, right? So we have these micro communities within the Gallo community. We have one for our Asian community. We have one for our Hispanic community. We have one for our LGBTQ community. We have one for our veteran community. We have one for our disabled community even. And so it's a great way that Gallo showcases and puts their money where their mouth is when it comes to what are the corporate values. So if you're a company like Gallo who says integrity, respect, commitment, innovation, teamwork, and humility are the 6 pillars that we are built on, how are you showcasing that? And then to take it one step further, you can say, okay, well, maybe you have an ERG that supports the African American community, and you put out a statement that says Black Lives Matter, or we're standing with our people of color community. Well, what are you doing and not just saying to do that? So you can look and see Barefoot, which is the largest wine brand in the world. They donated hundreds of thousands of dollars to the Equal Justice initiative. There's tangible, actionable things that are a part of our everyday. When you come work for Gallo, you also get a mentor when you first start with us, whether you're a person of color or not. You get a sales leadership development program mentor, which is really great. And if you are a person of color coming in specifically, like me as an African American, I had the opportunity also to be paired with a GAN mentor, where someone who looked like me and had navigated some of the territories, if you will, that people who are not of color might not have to deal with on a day-to-day basis. They're there to really help navigate and guide you through and be a sounding board for your success, which is really great. So I not only serve on the Women of Wine Leadership Board, but also the Gallo African American Network Leadership Board, and have done a lot to really build those programs so that, you know, there's more seats at the table. There's been a seat at the table for people of color at Gallo, but I'm really passionate as a sales recruiting manager for the Southeast to really make sure every qualified person gets an opportunity, but specifically that the table's been expanded and there's equity there when you come in and sit down, and that your voice is amplified. So that's something that's really a passion point for me at Gallo, and I'm sure some of the other ladies have similar programs, hopefully.
India?
Yeah, so you know, we at TTI definitely have similar opportunities like Gallo does. I actually just looked up diversity in wine, and the Instagram page is very cool. You guys should definitely check it out. I was kind of blown away with how you guys are able to do that, and that is something that I honestly wasn't really aware that Gallo had, which is very cool. But TTI definitely has. We are a very diverse group. We don't stop anyone from joining TTI. Like Charis said, you know, there is a place for everyone in TTI. My full-time job is not a recruiter for TTI. As a territory manager, all the territory managers do have a recruiting responsibility. So Brad is the main recruiter for AppState, but being an alum, he takes me back with him every single year, which has been amazing. But we do have those similar opportunities to get involved with, if you want to call it like more of a small group. We, just like Gallo, also do pair you with a mentor when you first join TTI, whether it's in our corporate office in Milwaukee or our corporate office in Charlotte, or if it's somebody else a little bit higher up still in the field. You do have that mentor to help guide you and kind of help you figure out what path is best for you. Everybody's path with TTI is different. You know, unfortunately, Brad couldn't join and is having a little bit of technical difficulties, but his path is very, very different from mine. And right now we're in very similar roles. So everybody's path is unique, and I encourage you to really find out, you know, whether you're interviewing with TTI or Gallo or Enterprise, to figure out kind of what has been their path. Each individual is like path to get to get to where they are and kind of where they go. You know, like Charis said a bit before, you know, who do you want to be? That's something that is a very deep question, but it definitely, you know, it's something that I make sure that everything I do every day is helping get me to that point. So that's kind of what I would say.
Great. Thanks, India. And Amy?
Yeah, absolutely. So at Enterprise, one of our founding values is that our doors are always open. And that doesn't mean that we're open 24/7. It means that we're accessible. We, as department heads, as regional vice presidents, as area managers, we are open to you and to our employees and to what matters to them. We have a really great platform called Leading the Way. And that group is committed to creating environments that eliminate opportunities for social injustice, prejudice, and bias that exist in our workplace. We have formed this group with we call them our level 3 leaders, which are you know, area managers, department heads that really help to elevate the voices of those in the field to talk through specific topics concerning social injustice, racial inequalities, and challenges in the workplace. So that has been a really great movement that we have put in place, and we've seen some really wonderful results. And so I think it's just so empowering to see that not only do we talk about in our founding values, our doors are open, but we are putting our, you know, we're putting it to work. We also have, for the ladies out there, we do have some great female leadership platforms as well. Opportunities to, for our women in leadership to come together and recognize the same types of similar, you know, inequalities in the workplace. And I think it's great that the company has really highlighted some of these issues, because otherwise, if you don't recognize them, they get put on the back burner or they get lost, right? We also have formal and informal mentorships throughout the community or throughout our company. So it's just really great ways for our new hires to feel connected and feel purpose in their workspace, and they're not getting through enterprise alone. Those are just a few of the things, you know, enterprise on the other side of it, we are such a family owned and operated private company. And, you know, we're so focused on just doing the right thing for our people every day. We recently implemented a program called My Time, My Purpose, which is a volunteer day for our employees to be able to give back to the communities and do what's important to them. Don't have to share what it is. You're able to just put that in there and spend time in your community, help rebuild whatever you feel is broken or whatever you feel is passionate to you.
Great. Thank you.
Can I add one thing on that, Susan?
Yeah.
Okay, sorry, I know I like to talk a lot. Have you guys heard that in the next 20 years, this, I forget how it's been coined, but basically for the first time ever in our country, we will be a country that's considered a minority majority. So the next 20 years, we will be a more ethnically diverse country than how it is currently structured with the majority, which means that every company, whether it's wine, whether it's you know, power tools or transportation, has to really dial into diversity, not because it's a cute catchphrase and, you know, there's some social injustices going on right now, we have to address them, but it will be a livelihood point of if you cannot bring value to a diverse consumer base, you will have no value. Think about that. So as all of our companies are working to, you know, make sure there's a seat at the table for everyone, it's good business. Like, it's not like this, yes, you can bring morality into it if you wanted to, but at the end of the day, if the basic theory of having a thriving business is to bring a product or a service to a consumer, you have to know what the heck is valuable to them. So having these different platforms to really understand different people groups is something I really encourage you guys to really vet companies out against, to say, okay, when I'm sitting around the water cooler in 10 years with X, Y, or Z organization, am I going to be on the right side of this conversation or not? So please take it seriously, whether you're a person of color or not, because your livelihood will depend on if you understand a diverse consumer group enough to really bring value in whatever industry it is you go into.
Well, that's great to kind of wrap us up there, Charis. I think every single day I am struck by how much the world is changing and how much we often resist the change. And y'all who are students, you're not going to have a choice, and you are so well prepared to go out there and tackle all these opportunities. And I actually have said to several people that when I look around the world these days, I don't have a lot of faith or hope in anybody unless they're like 25 years or younger. I have a lot of faith and hope in y'all. And not just because of things you do for Appalachian here, but because of your creativity, the resiliency that you're going to have to show, and the adaptability. I hope you heard today from our panelists that even though the economy absolutely stinks right now for a lot of places, they are actively recruiting and actively hiring, and they really want to talk to folks like you. And my one little bit of advice would be show up for the internship and job fair virtually. And we will have some workshops on how to do that. So I love Charis's background. It's just nice and plain and gray back there, but so that you can zoom in and you can start building these relationships with each of these employers if you are a second year or third year student, or even first year student, so that when you're a senior, you're top of mind for them to hire you. So we had asked Nolan to ask y'all to be here for about 45 minutes. I know we're a little over that. I'm just curious, does anybody have any questions? I know we talked a lot. We like talking and sharing, and we're excited about what we do. Doesn't anyone want to know like what some starting salaries might be? Possibly.
Yes.
Yes, thank you. Sherm, what are you cooking? You disappeared there for a minute. I am just curious.
I made some yellow rice, some greens, some cornbread, some chicken.
Sounds pretty good. So generally, management trainee program with Enterprise is how you get your foot in the door there. Amy, what do y'all start with?
Yep, our starting pay is $44,000 based on a 49-hour work week.
Great. And India?
Yeah, so we have our leadership development program, and those positions we start at $50,000, located all over the United States and Puerto Rico, and we do give all of those individuals in those first roles a company vehicle, and so that is with a gas card for personal and work use. So, and as long as you're in the field, you'll drive a company vehicle, because I still drive a company vehicle as well. So.
And that's a nice perk to not have a car payment. And Charis, do you get like a case of wine every month for free for E&J? I know you
will have your fair share of wine to be drinking responsibly, of course. We offer a car allowance. I wish I had a company car. That'd be really nice. But the winery is great about making sure you have a pretty solid car allowance. We do guarantee a minimum base, which means your territory will produce no less than $50,000, and your other packages get you above 60.
Awesome.
Yep.
And obviously a lot of advancement. Y'all have been with these companies a long time. India, you're just starting out, but good opportunities. Any other questions before we wrap up? I don't know if we lost Pierre. He's probably playing like, some good 70s music on WATA. Nolan, anything you want to add before we sign off?
No, just thank you all. This is very, very good for our student athletes. So thank you.
One thing to remember when you're talking about salary, because I think that's kind of a tricky thing to be like, where do you start at? If you have a career opportunity, you probably also have some ability for meritocracy. The harder you work, the more you make. So keep that in mind. Base is obviously very important, but also don't leave out what your growth potential is. You might start out at $100,000 in organization and you'll sit there for the rest of your freaking life. So think about, as you're asking salary questions, what is your potential for growth and what is necessary to grow, because that is going to affect that. Don't let that first number, the biggest one you hear, be the deciding factor, because you could really hurt yourself that way.
That's
I love that.
I'm looking out for you guys.
It's probably sort of how you decided where you were going to college and where you wanted to play ball, right? You look at a lot of different factors, not just the name of the school or the amount of the scholarship. So I want to thank all of y'all. I hope you have a good first day of class next week. Please stay safe. Thanks again to Charis, India, and Amy. I'm sorry Brad couldn't get on. I think we reached our limit and we weren't able to get him on. Nolan, thanks for organizing everything, and Pierre as well. And we'll have y'all join us for something else here in the very near future.
Congratulations, guys and gals. Keep working hard. You have everything you need to succeed.
Absolutely. Thank you all for being
Thank
here.
you, everyone.
Thanks.
Sherm, enjoy those greens.